Hi, and welcome to Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom. Welcome back. If you are new, welcome. We're excited to have you. Today, we are going to talk about why it is impossible to reason with our children mid meltdown. Why scientifically that happens, what to do, how to handle it, what to do after the fact. We're going to cover all of those things. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom podcast with Kira from Kira Brown Coaching. I'm a mom of neurospicy kids and a life coach. I'm here to share real tips and support to help you feel confident as a parent. Hi, today I want to start with a story. I was subbing at the school and I was helping a little autistic friend, and he lost his recess privileges. That wasn't my choice. That was another adult's choice in the environment, and he did okay with it until he was time for recess, and he realized he wasn't really going to recess. And so he started to have a meltdown, which is understandable. He thought he could turn it around and make better choices and earn back his recess, and he misunderstood. And so as the teacher was dealing with the meltdown and the behavior specialist, things were said like, make good choices. You can turn this around. Make good choices. And in the moment, I didn't really know what to do because it wasn't my regular, I'm just a substitute, so it wasn't my regular wheelhouse. I wasn't sure how to help. But after the fact, I thought about this and I thought, he can't make good choices right now. Like, his brain is off. And so I want to talk about this. I want to talk about what happens, why we can't negotiate or reason with our children in the middle of a meltdown, and how come it might even make it worse sometimes. So let's talk about it. We're going to talk about how the brain works and why logic and consequences and lectures don't work in the middle of a meltdown mode and what to do instead. So let's start with how the brain works. And the brain is pretty simple. In your forehead part of your brain, we have what some people call it the upstairs brain. It's a prefrontal cortex is a name of it, but the thinking brain, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it the CEO. When I'm talking to my kiddos about it, I like to give it an animal name. So maybe it's the wise owl, maybe it's the monkey brain, maybe it's the alien brain going on. It is the thinking part of your brain. And it handles impulse control, problem solving, taking perspective, thinking things through. That is what this part of your brain does. And it's the part of the brain we want to work, right? It's the part of the brain that makes good decisions. It's the part of the brain that can be like, A, B, and C are going to happen, and then D. We can put it together. So if we go back to the CEO analogy, this prefrontal cortex is like our CEO, and when we have meltdowns, the CEO goes to lunch. It's not around. You can't do anything to help. And that's just the way it is. So let's go over a little bit about what happens during a meltdown. First of all, your kid gets overwhelmed. It might be sensory. It might be an emotional overwhelm. It might be a transition that's happening. It might be an unexpected change. Something happens and your child becomes overwhelmed. And the amygdala, which is another part of your brain, is the alarm system, and it detects danger. And it might be real danger, and it might be perceived danger, like my socks feel funny. Okay, it just detects danger. It doesn't detect whether it's real or not. That's part of the prefrontal cortex or the CEO's job. But the alarm system, or the amygdala, detects danger. And when it detects danger, it puts our bodies in fight, flight, or freeze. So just like those sound, we're either going to fight about it. It might be a physical fight, it might be a verbal fight, but we're going to fight, or we're going to flight, so run away from it, escape the problem, or we're going to freeze. Or sometimes you hear it called fawn, so we're not going to do anything, we're just going to shut down. And when the body goes into fight, flight, or freeze, the CEO, or that prefrontal cortex, it goes offline. It literally has less blood flow, less access, and it doesn't work as well. And so when somebody has a meltdown, they lose access to reasoning and problem solving, your perspective taking, your self-control. This is not a defiance problem. This is not a, hey, I'm choosing to be ornery and not doing what you asked me to do. This is not them manipulating us. This is a nervous system in survival mode. This is a body trying to survive a danger. And like I said, the danger might be real or it might be just perceived, but their bodies are actively fighting a danger. And this happens in neurotypical and neurodivergent people. It can be adults, it can be children, it can be babies, but this is what happens in the brain. Our ADHD and autistic kiddos, or adults even, they get overwhelmed faster and they go into this fight, flight, or flight quicker than a neurotypical person. For ADHD, they have lower frustration tolerance, they have emotional impulsivity, they have difficulty pausing before reacting. These things lead to easier overwhelm. For autistic kiddos, they have a lot of sensory overload. They are pretty rigid thinkers. They are what we like to call black or white thinkers. Like, I have a plan and it's going to go, A is going to happen, then B is going to happen, and then C will happen. And it's going to look just like I see in my brain. And when it doesn't happen like that, then it's all bad. There's no gray in between. It has to be this way or it is not. There is no, we have 3/4 of it work the way we want it to. That doesn't, their brains don't think that way. And then sudden changes cause autistic kids to panic. They like to know what's coming and things to be predictable and to have a routine. So sudden changes cause a meltdown. And so these are all reasons why their brains hit overwhelm quicker than a neurotypical. And they might hit harder too. So they're just more prone for their bodies, their nervous systems to go into fight, flight, or freeze mode, which causes that prefrontal cortex or the CEO brain to go to lunch. And so because they have less blood in their prefrontal cortex, less reasoning, they can't process language well. And they take explanations as pressure. It's extra pressure for them to perform or whatever. It puts extra pressure on their bodies. And we often say in a meltdown, use your words. This can become impossible and not helpful. This can cause more stress too. They, in some cases, cannot use their words. Their prefrontal cortex has shut down and the thinking brain is gone. Their language center has shut down and they cannot use their words. Consequences in the middle of a meltdown may actually escalate this because it's further danger to their bodies. so it might make it worse. Let's picture it like this, okay? When our child or someone is in the middle of a meltdown and we try to teach them in the middle of that meltdown, try to explain things, try to talk them out of things or reason with them, it is the same as trying to teach someone to swim while they're drowning. They can't survive, they're drowning, and you're trying to teach them how to swim. Does it work very well? No, it doesn't. So instead, what we can do is co-regulate. We come back to that again and again. We can lower our voice and slow our movements so that we aren't perceived as dangerous. We're less, if voices are lower and your movements are slower, you're less likely to be perceived as a danger. We can offer fewer words. We can say what we need to say in short, concise sentences, clear, as few words as possible. We can remove the demands temporarily. That doesn't mean they get out of doing whatever it was, but we can remove that demand temporarily to remove that extra pressure. A huge one is we need to validate the feeling. I see you're overwhelmed and I'm here. I see you're frustrated and it's okay to be frustrated. Let's validate them. Okay. We want to also reduce sensory inputs. Are the lights bright? Is there a lot of noise? Are there a lot of people around? Can we do something? Turn out the lights, take them somewhere quiet, put on noise canceling headphones if they'll let you. Sometimes they won't in the middle of a meltdown. Remove them from being around a lot of people or have people leave. And this is also a great time to give them some physical space. Let their bodies have some space. If we're always right there, it might be frustrating and if we're right there, we're easy to fight with. So if we're right there, we're a threat and a danger to their little nervous system. So if we can give them some physical space, that can help calm their nervous systems. And then we need to have predictable, rehearsed calming strategies to use during these moments. We can't introduce new ones in the moment. They're not going to work. Now is not the time to teach them to swim. They're drowning, right? So we need to have those swimming lessons prior to the meltdown. We need to practice swimming prior to the meltdown. And then when we are in the middle of melting down or drowning, that's when we apply the pre-learned swimming techniques. This might be breathing. This might be counting backwards from 10. This might be asking for a cuddle. It could be a number of things, okay? I wish there was a one size fits all that I could just be like, this is the magic trick, do A, B, C. But each kiddo is going to have something different that's going to regulate their bodies, and we get to be the scientists and figure that out, what works for them. After the meltdown, it is really important, to comfort and reconnect with them. We're not mad at them. We're not avoiding them. We just need to reconnect with them, make them feel secure and loved, help them to feel that way. We can ask gentle questions to reflect on what happened. What did your body need? How were you feeling? What can I do to help next time? And then problem solve for the next time. What worked? What didn't work? And then we can create cues or routines or scripts or supports and practice those for the next time. And this isn't going to be we try it once and then it works or it doesn't work. I mean, some things will be obvious that they're not going to work, but some things will take some practice. So be patient with yourself and your kiddo. They're not being defiant and naughty on purpose. Their brain is shutting down. So Just remember it's a nervous system overwhelm, not a behavior problem, which also means, mama or dad, that it's not a lack of your parenting skills. This means it's not your fault. It doesn't mean that you're a bad parent. It just means their nervous system is overwhelmed. Remember that we can't coach. We can't teach them to swim while they're drowning, so we have to talk to them when they are calm. And then remember, feelings are contagious. Calm is contagious. Chaos is contagious. And it's really hard not to pick up on their chaos, their anger, or their frustration, or whatever they're feeling, disappointment, sadness, all of these emotions, right? But our calm is also contagious. So if we can stay calm and co-regulate with them, that will go a long ways. I know just yesterday I had a very overstimulating day as a substitute. And I usually have a break. I send my kids home on the bus, and that gives me some time to decompress on these hard days, but we didn't. We had a medical appointment we needed to go to, so I had to pick them up directly from school. And so I was overwhelmed, okay? And then my autistic kiddo gets in the car, and because I'm not calm, he picks up on that, and we had a rough night. We finally got to the point where we said, okay, we're done with our medical appointment. We're going to forget our other errands. We're going to go home. I'm going to make dinner. I'm going to let them eat in front of the TV with a weighted blanket. I'm going to go in my room where it's quiet, because I didn't have the calm to share that my chaos from the day spread over. So just remember, emotions are contagious, and we really want to try to share our calm, not our chaos. And we don't have to be perfect at it. We aren't going to be perfect at it. Like I said last night, I was not perfect at it. I had chaos going on in my life, and I shared it. And so I heard somewhere, and I can't even remember where, but our kiddos only need us to do it right like 30% of the time. So we can really have a lot of grace, mama. Like, we can try our best, but we're not messing them up. In fact, it also gives us a good opportunity to model coming back and apologizing. I'm sorry I didn't stay calm. I'm sorry I raised my voice. I'm sorry I wasn't patient in the grocery store. I can come back and say those things and teach, repair. I can reconnect after. So just remember, you're not failing. Your child isn't broken. You aren't broken. Brains just need support, and you're learning the tools to help it come back online. You're doing great. You're here. You're learning these things. If you want some co-regulation strategies, I have a freebie. It is called 10 Everyday Co-Regulation Strategies. They're different techniques and strategies to help your kiddo and you stay calm, be calm, so you can share your calm. I will put that link in the show notes for that. And you're doing better than you think you are. Keep up the good work. Thanks so much for listening to Autism Diagnosis to Confident Mom. If this episode helped you feel a little more seen or supported, please take a moment to like, follow, or subscribe to the podcast. And if you know another parent who needs to hear this, share it with them too. We're all in this together. You're doing better than you think, Mama. You've got this.